Hi everyone, welcome to another session of History of Forensic Science. We were discussing about early developments and initial scientific advances in forensic science, and till late 19th century we learned what is the history of forensic science. Now let's talk about what happened in 20th century. We know in about Archimedes. We came to know about the first autopsy case until the blood grouping. So after that, what happened? Dr. Samuel Shepard's wife Marilyn was found beaten to death in their home on July 4, 1954. Shepard explained he had fallen asleep in the sitting room only to be aroused some time later, believing the heard of his wife calling his name. He dashed upstairs and saw someone grappling with her. He was knocked by a blow to the head, and upon regaining consciousness, he was confronted with the blood stained body of his wife. He gave chase after he gave chase after hearing noise in downstairs. He woke up late on the shores of Lake Erie, with his feet in the water and his t-shirt missing. There were several inconsistencies with Dr. Shepard's story, and after they became aware he was having an affair, charged him on 21st, 1954. He was convicted of second-degree murder. This was far from the end of the matter. The defense attorney contacted Dr. Paul Elcrick, an esteemed criminalist who specialized in microscopy and was appointed as the leader of U.S. Berkeley's criminology program. He agreed to examine the evidence, and he focused on recreating the crime based on patterns of blood in the bedroom. The prosecution had claimed the murder had been committed by a medical instrument based on sketchy evidence. Crick, on the other hand, concluded that the spatter was almost certainly caused by a heavy object, such as flashlight, and it's not a surgical instrument. Based on the amount of blood at the scene, it was also hard to believe that none of it ended up on Dr. Shepard. So Kirk also determined that the killer must have held the murder weapon in his left hand, but here the Shepard was right-handed person. Even with the new evidence, it took 9 years to get a retrial, and the new defense attorney, Lee Bailey, coupled with Kirk, work gained Dr. Shepard's freedom in 1966. During Shepard's retrial, Kirk's testimony became key to the defense, and his story was used as the basis for the popular television series and motion picture The Fugitive. Kirk is also known for his contributions to literature on criminology. In 1953, he published Crime Investigation, one of the first crime scene investigation books to include both practical information and theory. The book's name, I'm repeating, in 1953, he published a book called Crime Investigation. Here, Kirk presents techniques for examining physical evidence at crime scenes, including chapters on fingerprints, fibers, hair, blood, tracks and trials, firearms, and vehicular accidents. Because of its popularity, the book has since been reprinted many times. Undoubtedly, the most significant modern advance in forensic science has been the discovery and refinement of DNA typing in the late 20th and early 21st century. Sir Alec Jeffreys developed the first DNA profiling test in 1984, and 2 years later he applied it for the first time to solve a crime, identifying Colin Pitchfork as the murderer of two young English girls. In Narbonne, it was shocked by the rape and murder of a 15-year-old schoolgirl, Linda Mann. A semen sample taken from Linda's body was found to belong to a person with type A blood and an enzyme profile that matched 10% of the adult male population. At that time, November 1983, this was as far as identification of the semen could go, and the murder hunt was eventually wound down. 3 years later, the same fate happened to a 15-year-old Dawn Ashworth, and semen samples recovered from the Dawn's body revealed that her attacker had the same blood type as Linda's murderer. This time, the investigation resulted in the development of a suspect, Richard Buckland. Richard was a 17-year-old youth who lived in the area and who revealed knowledge of the circumstances of Dawn's body that had not been made public. He confessed to the murder of Dawn but denied any involvement with the death of Linda. Police were convicted that Richard Buckland was responsible for both crimes and contacted Dr. Alec Jeffrey at the university and for assistance, and Dr. Jeffries had just published a paper on applying DNA profiling to forensic science together with Dr. Peter Gill and Dr. David Verrett of the English Forensic Science Services. And in 1985, they were the first to demonstrate that the DNA could be obtained from crime scenes, which proved vital in this case. Dr. Jeffries compared semen samples from both murders against a blood sample from the suspect, which conclusively proved that both girls were killed by the same man, but not Richard Buckland. The police then contacted the FSS, that is Forensic Science Services, which verified the results. The police then decided to undertake the comprehensive DNA screen. An adult male in 3 villages surrounding the location of the murders. A total of 5,000 men were asked to volunteer and provide blood or saliva samples. Blood grouping was performed and DNA profiling carried out by the FSS on the 10% of men who had the same blood type as the killer. None matched the DNA in the semen samples. Disappointed and baffled, police continued with the investigation and their patience were rewarded when a local man was overheard in a bar boasting that he had given a sample in the name of a friend, Colin Pitchfork. Pitchfork was located, samples taken and typed and found to match the crime DNA profiles. In 1988, he was sentenced to life imprisonment for the 2 murders. So this was the case, and this case marked the first time DNA profiling established the innocence of a criminal suspect. DNA profiling offers law enforcement officials a powerful tool for establishing the identity of a suspect. Since the advent of DNA typing, biological materials such as skin, hair, and other body fluids has emerged as the most reliable physical evidence at a crime scene, particularly those involving sexual assault. Now let's hear the words of Sir Alec Jeffrey.
The announcement that I am this year's recipient of the Copley Award, Copley Medal of the Royal Society of London. And, well, my reaction is, wow. So let me explain. The Copley Medal, I need to do my research. This is all too new. But it was established in the, I think, early-ish 18th century and is now the oldest and most prestigious science award in Britain by really quite a long way. So for me to receive it was fantastic. Why did I receive it? Well, I was delighted. It wasn't just for DNA fingerprinting. So I think the citation was awarded for his contributions to fundamental research into human genome diversity and instability, or something like that. So the award captures basically my whole career, including the DNA fingerprinting bit of it. And I was so pleased about that, because people tend to forget that I've done stuff before DNA fingerprinting and stuff after DNA fingerprinting. If you look at the roll call of previous recipients of the Copley Medal, it is absolutely jaw-droppingly awesome. So there's Michael Faraday, there's Humphrey Davy of the Davies Lamp, there is Joseph Lister, there Charles Darwin, and of course the Leicester-associated Alfred Russel Wallace as well, also involved in developing the theory of evolution. Einstein, Rutherford, I mean, it's just all the great names in science are there. So to be included in that roll call is beyond my wildest conceivable dreams. It's fantastic.
Another significant recent advancement in forensics is the establishment of computerized database to store information on physical evidence such as fingerprints, markings on bullet and shell casings, and DNA. These databases have proved to be invaluable, enabling law enforcement officials to compare evidence found at the crime scenes to thousands of pieces of similar information. This has significantly reduced the time required to analyze evidence and increased the accuracy of the work done by the police and forensic investigator. With this, the last session of History of Forensic Science came to an end. I hope all of you understood, and if you have any doubts, clear it and study well. Thank you.